In 1953, absolute monarchy in Iran was waning into nothing more than a symbolic institution like those in certain European countries, and making room for a democratic system with the guidance of figures such as Dr. Mohammad Mossadegh, the first Iranian to gain a PhD from Neuchâtel University in Switzerland. However, this movement came to a halt with the 19 August 1953 coup d'etat against Mossadegh's government. Absolute monarchy was thus able to renew itself and gain new life.
Well, our host is the Imperial Majesty Shahanshah, which means King of Kings, Shahanshah of Iran, Mohammad Reza. He's been the Shah since 1941. He's one of the richest men in the world. This country is a constitutional monarchy. The Shah has full power. He appoints the Prime Minister. He can dissolve the Parliament. He controls the army. He can declare war. He can conclude peace treaties. He controls the press. Very little criticism of him is allowed. His word is indeed the law.
One result of the coup was the rise once again of the mullahs in Iran, not least since they enjoyed the backing of the Shah.
آخوندها در پایان پادشاهی محمد رضا شاه 55,000 تا مسجد در اختیار داشتند. یعنی در طول 37 سال از 200 رسید به 55,000 تا.
That's why it was said that Khomeini was the real heir to the Shah's throne and a direct result of the Pahlavi dictatorship. Ayatollah Reza Zanjani writes in his book Mossadegh and History, in the 1940s, the clergy was on the verge of demise. The Pahlavi rule once again resuscitated it. Meanwhile, Mohammad Reza Pahlavi cracked down on his students and intellectuals who have historically been the antithesis of the mullah's outlook, and he censored books and the media. This was a time when just reading the novel The Little Black Fish was considered a crime. In 1964, Mehdi Bazargan said in his court hearing, "We are the last group who will speak with you peacefully." Eyewitnesses testified that prisoners were lashed and some even lost the flesh on their feet all the way up to below the knees. Others simply disappeared.
اینجا که نشسته بود یهو می‌دیدی دورش چیه به قدر مثلا این 6 تا موزاییک هم تو خون رفته همینطور از چون خون همین از پر و پا خون میرفت و همینجا با شلاق می‌زدش میگفت این خونا رو باید بخوری یا بریسی یا مثلا می‌بست دستشو به تخت زیر 5 تا انگشتش سوزن فرو می‌کرد و خیلی به اصطلاح راحت سر تک تک این سوزن‌ها رو چیکار می‌کرد با فندک داغ می‌کرد که داغی رو حرارت منتقل می‌کرد زیر ناخن که اینا همه چرک می‌کرد و مثلا تا شب و اینا چی می‌شد این ناخن‌ها خودش میافتاد.
Martin Ennals, Amnesty International's Secretary General in 1975, described the Shah's human rights record as the worst globally. That year, he spoke of brutal tortures in Iran.
I know you've been frequently questioned about allegations of torture practiced by your secret police, and I must ask you this because it does concern Americans. Could I refer to an article in the Sunday Times which describes an instrument of torture called the hot table, which is said to be used by SAVAK, and they say that it's an iron frame covered with wire mesh that's electrically heated like a toaster, and prisoners would be strapped to the table while it was heated until it became red hot. Do you have any comment to make on that? I mean, it's terrifying allegation.
Is it really something that you will ask in a television interview from a responsible man like me?
Well, yes, I think you're precisely the person I should ask about it.
It's so rubbish that I'm not even going to bother to answer to you.
The article also referred to the trial of an engineer who was tried, and the trial was attended by a couple of French lawyers, and they say that this man showed them the scars from such a table here in Tehran.
Where the scars? Where?
On his back and on his chest.
You can scratch yourself very easily.
No, the lawyers said, alleged.
The lawyers, which kind of lawyers? Really, honestly, never heard anything like this. But you are really exaggerating. This is not serious, this kind of interview. I'm not going to answer to you anymore.
Fine. Well, perhaps we could go on to something else.
No, I'm finished.
Oh, please, Your Majesty.
I'm finished with you.
Don't you think we must ask you this sort of thing?
No.
Well, can I ask you about your personal sense of mission, which you obviously have?
I'm not going to answer to you anymore.
You're so used to these questions.
Not from...
Don't you think that...
Just as images of wealthy areas of Tehran today are not an indication of a thriving economy, photos of women without the hijab in Iran prior to the 1979 revolution prove nothing. The bogus lie that Iranians lived affluent lives at the time of the Shah is laid bare when the camera lens is turned towards southern Tehran or hundreds of other cities. There was an abundance of poverty, prostitution, unemployment, and shantytowns.
والا اینا خون فروشن، یعنی از روی استیصال و بدبختی خون خودشونو میفروشن. یه ساندویچ بهشون میدن 15-20 تومن هم گیرشون میاد، 5 تومنشون میدن به دلال خون، با بقیه‌اش هم 10-12 روز سر میکنن تا خونشون دوباره جا بیفته برن از نو بفروشن.
This is while the Shah's corrupt office had such huge expense that Ambassador Sullivan, the U.S. ambassador, expressed bewilderment. Hoveyda, the Shah's prime minister, writes in his memoirs, sometimes when His Majesty went to ski on his private ski line in Switzerland, his accompanying government delegation had to travel to his villa at great expense simply to hold their government session. Finally, although a return to the monarchy in Iran is a historic impossibility, we should be vigilant that this group sows discord, is infiltrated by the current regime, and presents unrealistic solutions such as a sudden meltdown of the regime without any price. As such, this group can slow down the process of the current revolution in Iran. Let's not forget that the rejection of both the Shah and the mullahs will ultimately lead to long-lasting freedom.